Hey guys, and welcome to Women Unleashed. So, this is the first episode of my podcast, and I wanted it to be a little insight into why I started this podcast. So, I want women to have somewhere to come and feel safe and feel like they can relate to somebody. And with my year of 2023 being quite a traumatic one, I thought a lot of people could relate. So, in today's episode, I'm going to dive into what happened. So, stay tuned. Welcome to Women Unleashed. So, you know the saying, start as you mean to go on. Well, 2023 started on a very awful note. So, I'll talk you through everything in running order. In January, I was pregnant. And for me, that was quite a big thing, going through all my health problems prior, post-competing, a lot of hormonal problems. I didn't really have a cycle. People said to me, health professionals said that I won't be able to get pregnant for 3 years. And it's something that just happened unexpectedly, obviously, and I was over the moon. It was a little miracle for me. And, you know, it's just one of them things that you don't, when you're not planning for it, it is a big shock, but I was happy nevertheless. However, as I said, this wasn't really a happy episode. In mid-January, I'd lost the pregnancy and it was very, very hard. It was very traumatic. It wasn't something that I would wish upon anybody. And the reason I'm kind of talking about it is because so many women go through similar things. They lose pregnancies, they lose babies, and they feel like they're very much so alone. And I don't think anybody who hasn't been through this will understand, and I didn't until then, how it feels to have a little human inside of you and then to kind of lose that connection. It was very, very tough, and it kind of had a negative effect on my mental health, not just from the hormone perspective. Obviously your hormones are buzzing all over. They are, you know, like your body's changing and all of a sudden all that drops and you're just in a completely different place. So it put me in a really, really dark place. And not long after that, my relationship broke down. So that was just another stressor that I kind of experienced. And I just felt at an all-time low. I kind of didn't know what to do with my life. I felt like my life was so perfect prior, and then all of a sudden things just came crashing down. And it took me a long time to kind of get over it. And still to this day, I still think about it, and it is something that really sits on my heart, and I think about it quite a lot. So at this stage, I was back with my parents at home in the UK, and for anybody that knows me knows I can't deal being in the UK too long because that affects my mental health itself. So I decided to kind of go back to Dubai and spend time with my friends and be around people that, you know, who can support me, who knew about the situation. And I'm very grateful to have some really, really good friends that obviously were there for me throughout that time. And that situation kind of caused me to take a step back and look at life and think about personal development and working on myself a lot more and just making myself feel better. So anyway, I got into a much, much better place. I started to feel good again. Even though my body wasn't responding the way I wanted it to, you know, I still had a little bit of a bump. I still had that extra fat. My hormones were still all over. My hair was dropping out. Like, I just felt minging in myself. But, you know, we kept going and I kept working on myself. And come March time, I felt much, much better. Me and my partner then decided to move abroad again and kind of start fresh and start a new chapter in our life. So we moved to Marbella, which was absolutely amazing. And I know I said 2023 was really, really traumatic, but nevertheless, I did make some amazing memories and I did meet some absolutely incredible people along the way. Well, some of them were incredible, some not so much, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so that was a kind of a fresh start in Marbella, and the summer was amazing. There's, you know, like there were amazing parts and memories that I will cherish forever. Moving into the end of summer, me and my partner had split up. He'd left, and that again was quite traumatic for me. And the reason why that was really traumatic is because of my childhood trauma. Now, I speak about this quite a lot on my socials, and for those who don't know me, my childhood trauma comes from my dad. When I was a child, we lived in Poland, and my parents decided to move to the UK. My mum went, and then my dad followed. So my dad being the only caregiver that I had at the time, and him leaving me caused me to have attachment issues, so which have then developed into attachment issues with men that I have now. And that is something that I've only just realised over the last probably a few months or so, and it's something that I have been working on, because I was always wondering, like, why do I struggle with breakups so much? Why can I not let that person go? And it's because it's my fear of abandonment. So when my partner left, and I just felt really abandoned, I was very much so on my own. I kind of didn't know what to do with myself. I felt very lost. I felt very alone. And, we were still in Marbella. My friends were still there, but these people didn't see me anymore. These people promised to make an effort, and they never did. And it was just a bit of a kick in the teeth. And, living in a country away from your family and friends on your own can be very daunting. And yes, I did have the option to go back home to my family, but I didn't want to, because I knew I would be masking kind of how I'm feeling at the time. So I decided to stay and, again, work on myself and learn to be on my own, because, as anybody will know, if you're in a relationship, and no matter how long you've been with that partner, you are so used to being with somebody all the time, and when that gets removed, you feel like your right arm's gone. You just don't know what to do with yourself. Like, you've got so much spare time, a lot more time to think, which, again, thinking too much is never good either. So yeah, that was very, very hard for me. And, I didn't really tell many people about it at the time, because it was something that I didn't want to talk about. It was something that I just didn't want to mention it to anyone. Like, when you're going through a breakup, it's hard enough as it is. And then people asking questions just makes it so much worse. So I was like, no, I'm not going through it. I'm just dealing with it on my own. So a lot of people didn't know right up until quite recent. So from there, obviously in the summer, I made some amazing friends, which then kind of was a kick in the teeth when these people weren't there for me. And you find out that what people have been saying about you, and when people claim to be your close friends and your best friends, and then you're finding out what they're saying about you, it's just, you feel even more betrayed. So, that was just another loss. I'd lost my boyfriend, I'd lost my friends, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what have I done to deserve this? And now looking back at it, it's not what I've done to deserve it. It's actually what's happened to kind of help me realise that these people are not needed in my life. These people were just passing through they were there for a reason at the time, but they're not people that stay. So it was a big lesson that I'd learned, and it all needed to happen for me to be able to learn this. So going forward from there, I started my healing journey, my self-development, and then about 6 weeks after my partner left me, my granddad passed away, and he lived in Poland, so again, didn't see him. And for anybody that's got grandparents and you've lost him, you know how it feels. And it's even harder when they are not there and you're not in the same country, because you're not able to do anything. You're not able to go there when they're unwell. So I felt very, very guilty of not being there by his side. Again, another reason why that was really traumatic for me is because my granddad was my primary caregiver when my parents moved to the UK when I was 6 years old. So he was effectively like my dad. Like, I looked up to him so much, and he'd look after me, and it was just super, super sad to see him pass away effectively. And again, that was a third loss in 1 year. First the baby, then my partner, and then my grandparent. And still to this day, I will sit there and I will have a cry. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm okay with everything. It still massively plays on my heartstrings, and it's something that I just sit there and I think, why me? Why me? Why am I going through this? So I went to Poland, went for the funeral, and then I decided to come back to Marbella just to kind of finish off my chapter there, living there. My rent was up end of the year, so I thought you may as well stay. UK is depressing as it is. So I went back, kind of spent some more time on my own, and decided that I'm going to go back to the UK for Christmas, and then just see where to go from there, because I don't have a plan. I don't have a stable home. I'm a bit of a globetrotter, like, I just feel a bit like a gypsy at the moment. And yes, for some people you might think, what a life, like, you can be wherever you want when you want, but it does get very lonely, like very, very lonely, especially when you're on your own. you don't have that other person and you don't have them stable friends because you are moving around the world all the time. And security is something that I've always craved, and I've still not got this to this day, and I believe it will come at some point, but clearly not just now. So I decided to spend Christmas with my family. Again, it was a really, really tough Christmas. Probably one of the worst Christmases I've ever had. I remember waking up on Christmas Day and just crying, opening presents because of how different it was to my perfect Christmas the year before. And I was just comparing everything again, like thinking, why me, like thinking that I'm the victim of this whole story, when really the things that have happened weren't to me, they were for me. They are setting me up for something much, much better, which obviously you can see how my mindset has changed from thinking like the victim and in my own head to now believing that everything happens for a reason and the better things are coming. So that was hard enough as it is. And then January, I seen that my ex is on TV. Another kick in the teeth. Now, a breakup is a breakup, and a breakup is hard. And I believe that everybody, whether you're a guy or a girl, you will go through the breakup and you will struggle. Very, very much so. But then when that gets put in front of your eyes, on TV, on social media, somewhere you can't escape, it is heartbreaking. And when I still sit here to this day on an evening and cry and see these things, and I just can't even explain to you how it feels. It literally feels like you've been rejected, abandoned, like left behind. You just feel like an absolute mug. And yeah, there's actually no way I can describe it. And unless you're in that situation, you really, really don't know how it feels, because you see the whole world. You feel like the whole world is looking at you and talking about you, whether it's saying that you're a mug or you're this or you're that, or you feel judged by people. So that was just another like kick in the teeth and another massive part of why I felt the way I did and why I really wanted 2023 to end. Like, I thought it was going to be this perfect year. I thought it was going to be like so happy because the summer was so great, but it was just one thing after another, and it was never ending. And I was just like, going into the new year, I remember sitting there on New Year's Eve and I was counting down, like the countdown into the new year. I was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all of a sudden when it hit midnight, I felt like this massive relief in myself. It was like all that stress and all that anxiousness of the year of 2023 just left my body, and all of a sudden I felt just so happy and positive about 2024, because I know how many amazing things I've got coming up, and I know it's going to be a much, much better year, because it can't get any worse than what last year was. Like, genuinely can't get any worse. And for people that were obviously around me or were saying, you'll be fine, you'll get through this at the time, and they were saying, look, it's a breakup, you'll be absolutely fine. Like, yes, it was a breakup. Yes, my granddad passed away. Yes, I lost a child in the first part of the year. Like, all these things in 1 year is a lot. Like, one thing at a time is a lot, but this was just like a whole nother level, and I wouldn't wish it up on anybody. And I'm not sitting here saying that I want anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm just kind of letting you know that if you're going through something like this, you are not alone, and you will get out of it on the other end much, much better and much, much stronger, because that's what's happened. I've come out of this feeling much stronger and much better person and much more positive. And I know that all the things that have happened for a reason. They've not happened to upset me, because that's not what life is about. Like, the universe wants you to always have the best. So whatever is happening in your life right now, whether it's the worst month, the worst day that you are having, just believe that it's here to make you stronger, and you will come out of it much better. So it's been obviously a few months since all these things have happened, and yes, I am better, much better than I was. Like, I'm not crying every day, take every one day at a time. At first you'll cry every day, then you'll cry every other day, then you'll go 3 days without crying. Like, things will get better. And what I really want you to remember is that it's a journey, and some days you will feel better, some days you will feel worse, but you will come out of it better. You need to adapt that positive mindset, that that things will get better. Because if you're sat there feeling sorry for yourself, which I'm guilty of, I was sat there some nights thinking, oh my God, like just getting myself down, and then you get into a vicious cycle of putting yourself down, not wanting to do anything. I actually remember sitting there at home not wanting to leave the house, and I am a social butterfly, but because I spent so much time on my own inside, it actually started to give me anxiety. I started to get social anxiety. I didn't even want to go to the gym. I didn't want to see people. Like, it was just a very weird feeling, and it wasn't me. And I had some really dark times. Kind of made sure that anytime I had a little blip like this, I phoned somebody, whether it was my mum or my friend or somebody close to me that I could speak to make myself feel better. So like I say, you're not always going to be feeling 100%, and don't feel worried to reach out to someone whenever you do feel shit, effectively. But it is a journey, and you need to have that positive mindset to get through it, because it's never going to be easy. So the moral of the story is, no matter how bad your year, your day, your month has been, you need to have a positive mindset and believe that you will get out of this feeling much better. So 2023 was a shit year, and yes, I was waiting for 2024 to come through, because I knew straight away it can't get any worse and it's going to get much better for me. And the reason for this podcast was to get women to relate and to come here and listen and feel like they are not alone. And if you ever want to chat, or if you ever feel like you need somebody to talk to, even if I am a stranger, don't be scared to drop me a message, because I am more than happy to speak to anybody who is going through similar things. And remember, nobody's life is perfect. Everyone's going through their own shit, and don't believe what you see on social media, because half of the time people ain't going to be real. People are only going to post the good times and not the bad times, and everyone goes through something tough. So I'm going to wrap up this episode here. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in. And if you want to listen to more episodes that are coming up, please subscribe to the channel. I've got some really exciting things coming up with other guests as well, from health and fitness to relationships to traumas to manifesting and everything else in between. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next week for the next episode.